What's up, YouTube? My name is Lo Ray. I've never made a YouTube video formally before, but just thought that this might be a good idea. My gender pronouns are they and them. I'm 21 years old. I'm a social work student at IUPUI in Indianapolis, and I'm getting top surgery, in about 2 weeks. And so the video here that I'm making really is just gonna give you all an overview of how I got to this how I got to this place, and what that looked like for me. And I thought that was important maybe to make this because all of the people on YouTube that I've looked at for advice and help, getting ready to get surgery and working through these feelings has been really helpful. And I feel like there aren't enough out there, and having your story out there and helping others work through that process can be really powerful. And I just want to say that this is my story. This is the way I got here to where I am, and that it's going to look different for everyone depending on kind of financial resources you have, especially when you're getting coverage for surgery. What maybe where you're living, the kind of access to health specialists that you have, and whatnot. So I think that, excuse me, I'm drinking LaCroix. I don't know why I thought that was a good idea for this video, but that's happening. So yeah, this is just my story, and I thought maybe for people that are especially living in Indianapolis, or near Indianapolis, really, maybe this could help you too. So yeah, my top surgery is scheduled for May 11th with Dr. Sidba Gallagher at IU Health in Avon. I think it's in Avon. I haven't been back there in months, but anyway, that's happening. And so it's about 2 weeks out, and I haven't gotten any official documentation to prepare myself for surgery, which I think is a little weird. So I've been doing a lot of organic searching, I guess, for my own resources. And I have found a packet of stuff to do before surgery, after surgery, from different doctors online, and I can post that in the description for folks that maybe might find that useful. But I want to talk more about how I got to this point. So I've been thinking about getting top surgery, for I'd say maybe close to 7 years or more. I've been binding. I'm not binding right now, but I usually am. And I've been binding probably since my sophomore year of high school. So about 6 years or so, 5 or 6 years. And I think at some point I just realized that I would like to pursue that permanent step of surgery. It's something that I think I never thought I would do because it's so permanent, and I've been really nervous about it, and I wasn't sure of my feelings, and I guess that whole idea of not feeling trans enough. I personally avoided the word transgender for myself for a multitude of reasons, but I think as I started thinking more about what it means to be trans and the trans umbrella itself, and how that applies to the way I feel in my head, and how that might look for my body and externally, when wanting to present the way that I feel fits best inside my head. And so last year in 2016, in June, I got on the internet and I was just how am I going to start this process? I really have no idea where to go. Excuse me. Luckily, there's a website called Indiana Transgender Network. I can put that in the description too, if that might help some folks. And they have a medical resources tab with lists of doctors and pediatric endocrinologists and whatnot for people to look into for resources. And I saw I saw Dr. Gallagher's name, and I just sent an email. I was like, okay, I was really worried about getting access to surgery as a non-binary person who's not on testosterone, but has the gender dysphoria that is like in the like WPATH standards, and like I don't know if it's under gender identity disorder officially or not, but I was just nervous about that. So I sent an email to Dr. Gallagher's assistant, Nicole Jackson, and I pretty much laid it out. I was like, hey, I am non-binary, trans, I'm living in Indianapolis, I'm a student. Does Dr. Gallagher perform surgeries for non-binary people? And I didn't know any non-binary people at the time that I'd gotten top surgery. And there was a lot of rhetoric happening around that. And so I was worried, but I was very lucky that Nicole responded. Was very open and laid out the whole process for me in that email about what it would look like for me to move forward with next steps. I also didn't know a lot about insurance. I'm lucky enough to be under my parents' insurance with it, which is Anthem Blue Cross. So I had that like privilege of not really having to look into my insurance and what it covered, you know. And so this was that point where I had to make that decision, and making that effort really and looking into what insurance coverage looks like if possible. So I scheduled a consultation with Dr. Gallagher and went to her office in about July of last year. It was actually like one of the few times I think I felt comfortable in a healthcare setting, and like in general. Her staff was really open and really nice, you know. One thing they did was they asked me my pronouns on the intake sheet, and used those throughout the whole process in that consultation, which might seem like not a big deal to some people, but to me that was like huge, right? Like I felt like they cared, and this was one way to show that they cared and wanted to be intentional about that. So the consultation went well. It was pretty much what was really nice that I liked about it was that Dr. Gallagher had this presentation she showed me about folks that had gone through the surgery, like before and after pictures, and the details that like I couldn't find on the internet maybe, or just like the minor details that I guess you'd expect from a consultation visit, but I wasn't sure I would get that out of this. And that was really helpful. We talked about like the details of the surgery, and we got pictures for insurance purposes. And so I left there with a scheduled date. No, I did not get a scheduled date. This was like last summer, so it's hard to remember. But I had to get a letter from my therapist, who I'd been working with for over 4 years, and she was well aware that I was trans and was pursuing top surgery. So my next visit with my therapist, I got a letter. We worked through it together. My therapist was very affirming and supportive, and we wrote the letter together so that I could know the language that was in there, and that I was okay with it, and she followed the WPATH standards while she wrote it. And then this was, this was like September maybe. And so the letter gets like sent out pretty much to Dr. Gallagher, the surgeon. And we contact Anthem, and well, actually, I didn't contact Anthem. Nicole did. Nicole, the surgeon's assistant, did a lot of the advocating on my behalf, which I was incredibly thankful for. And so I gave her all the documents that she needed to advocate for me to get coverage through Anthem. And then it became a waiting process. It was my first semester of my junior year in school, and I was busy with school and work, and so I kind of put it off and just was waiting to hear a response. And so we couldn't schedule a date excuse me, for surgery unless there was like confirmed, oh my God, I cannot do this anymore. Unless there was like confirmed coverage for the surgery. And like, so I hadn't been on testosterone. I had a letter from my doctor also, and a letter from my therapist, and I had all the requirements, right? Like, I felt like, okay, I have everything together, and this is something I don't have to pursue anymore, that I can get a date, and we'll go from there. So we got a date, I think it was December, early December sometime, and we get to talking like in November, and it turns out Anthem denied my coverage based on a chromosome requirement test. And this is something that I had never like heard of in terms of coverage for top surgery. And Nicole and Dr. Gallagher hadn't heard of too, for like reasons getting denied for coverage, because I had friends who are non-binary and were not on testosterone that got top surgery without this denial, I guess, of coverage for this reason, you know. So I was really, really worried. So surgery didn't happen in December, but what happened from there was like a whole different thing. So we were talking, Nicole and I were talking, and pretty much like there's a lot of confusion as to why this chromosome test was a thing. Like, they weren't going to pay for it. Those like take, I don't know, like a long time to schedule, and like this was November, so there was no point. Like, I wasn't going to get surgery anyway at that point. And so Nicole like advocated for me with Anthem and talked to their policymakers like at the national level, and told me that they have quarterly meetings to talk about policies and whatnot. And after going back and forth, this was like February or March, or this was early March, I had just kind of forgotten about the idea of surgery for a while. And that was really hard, having had that in my mind all semester, first semester. But luckily for me, and I guess for anyone else who's under Anthem at this point, they removed the chromosome test requirement. And then I got coverage, which so pretty much meant like Nicole had advocated for me on my behalf, and other trans clients that Dr. Gallagher was going to have, and was like, this is wrong. Like, this should not be a policy. You just put this policy in place like in August of the past year, like, because you don't want to cover surgery costs, you know. But it's gone. So that policy is done, and I received a letter saying I got coverage. I like cried. It was very surreal. I like seeing that official insurance coverage letter. Like, it's like on my fridge right now, just like hanging out, because it's just a really awesome feeling. So I mean, that's where I was at, and now we scheduled a date back in March for May 11th in like 2 weeks. And so I wanted to make this video really to talk about what I'm doing now to prepare for it. I'm in like the middle of finals, you know, and like writing a bunch of papers and trying to get my head together with all of that. At the same time, like trying to prepare like thoughtfully about like for surgery, like for top surgery. So I'm like watching a bunch of videos of people that are pre and post-op and what they did, you know, and looking up tips and going through that packet that I found online. And I'll probably be doing that up until the day before surgery. I don't know. I'm kind of just not really sure what to expect. And I really, you know, what's keeping me going is that I know that this is something that I want to do, despite what it looks like for me after surgery. I know that I'm going to feel better. Like emotionally, physically, I'll be able to be more of myself. Like in general, I can do more things that make me happy. I feel like I'm preaching to the choir here for folks that are watching, but it's really, it's going to be life-changing. And it's still hard to believe that it's 2 weeks away. And with that, like I go back and forth like a lot of days recently too, like, as we're getting closer, like, do I really want to do surgery? Like, am I making this permanent decision? And am I trans enough to, like, do this? And what does that look like for me in, like, a professional setting, you know, moving on, you know, in my life? And I am lucky enough to have a large community of support around me. You know, my girlfriend, I have family, chosen family as well, which is, you know, oftentimes more important, I think, for my, like, emotional health, really. Close friends that are trans that are willing to help out. My girlfriend is going to be there, like, every step of the way and help as helpful as she can. So I'm really lucky in that aspect. But I think what's been important for me right now is trying to gather all the resources that I can and keeping them close and sharing them with, like, my family so that they can be in on this too because they want to be a part of it, keeping me supported and safe during and post-op. Something that kind of sucks right now is I've had to take off a month from work because I can't get paid medical leave because I don't work full-time. So at least a month of no, like, real income coming in is gonna suck. But, like, my parents are helping me out, so I'm not too worried about that. But really, I'm just, like, got, like, pre-surgery jitters in my head and, like, my body, and I'm, like, in the middle of finals, you know, so I just thought maybe this video might help people, you know, and I would love if anyone wants to share any feedback or questions or comments. I am thinking of this more as, like, a community building video, and for whatever that looks like, right? For, like, maybe just myself or for other folks that are watching. And I'm hoping to make another video as we get closer, maybe the night before, day after, if I'm coherent, I don't know. And just keeping you all updated on how that looks, and maybe that can help some people as they navigate their own journeys too. So yeah, thank you for watching. Feel free to share with other folks that might be interested to knowing more about someone else's story, and I will make another video in the coming weeks. Thank you.